I call this meeting to order. Let the record show that all commissioners present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What is good? Yes, sir. Need to let us get out
Okay. All right, I think you guys have a copy of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion, I need a second.
Second.
Second, any corrections or discussion? Not all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody? 5-0. I didn't get anybody on the citizens' comments, so I guess anybody want to speak to the commissioners? Thank you. All right, now let's go to item 6, presentation by Dale Dickinson and Joe Joplin, landowners and stakeholders regarding the recent and proposed wind farm development in Valverde County.
Good morning,
Morning.
Judge Valdez, commissioners, and officers of the court, and general audience. For those that don't know me, my name is Dale Dickinson. I'm a Valverde County landowner out of the Skyline Ranch, located on the Devils River near Dublin Falls. My forefathers first moved into this country in the late 1880s, and we've been here ever since. During my lifetime, have observed the county going from primarily a ranching community to a primarily agritourism community. Some months ago, I started to go outside on my deck at night. It was a clear night. I could see the stars. I was looking forward to enjoying the night sky. I opened the back door, and what I saw was an absolute abomination. I use that word because in talking to other people that have seen this same phenomena, I've heard words such as obscenity, atrocity, horror, outrage, monstrosity, etc. I could go on and on. My first thought was that the Martians had translated themselves from New Mexico to Valverde County. It absolutely looks like an extraterrestrial landing set. You would think they could at least sequence flash those lights instead of going on and off all at the same time. Anyway, I came to find out that what I was actually seeing was light pollution in the form of 69 wind turbine synchronized high-intensity navigation obstruction lights of the newly commissioned Rock Springs Wind Farm. I now don't go on my deck at night as I literally and figuratively see red. For those of you that haven't had that have not been able to personally observe this phenomenon with your own eyeballs, I invite you out to the ranch to take a look for yourselves. As none of the various descriptions, photos, or videos aptly describes what it actually is. More recently, I met a gentleman in entrance to the road that goes to the Skyline Ranch and other properties. His name is Lynn Zaoshing, and he is with a foreign firm based out of Houston called Brazos Highland Properties, LP. Mr. Zaoshing informed me that he, quote unquote, owned both the Lane and Crane ranches. Further, he was trying to physically locate them in order to look them over. He also informed me that he had spent the previous day at the Morning Star Ranch, which is across the river from us, for the same purpose. Although he would not elaborate upon the specific purpose of his visit, I believe it important to point out that Brazos Highland Properties is a major participant in the Rock Springs Wind Farm project. Being concerned about both the visual and light pollution caused by the newly commissioned wind farm and the imminent potential for further expansion of wind farm development in Val Verde County, I started doing research and reaching out to other concerned Val Verde County stakeholders. What we have found to date is presented this morning as a courtesy briefing in the form of a PowerPoint presentation to raise awareness of the problems that we see with attendant solutions thereof. For that end, I yield the podium to Mr. Joe Joplin, also a Val Verde County landowner. Mr. Joplin also happens to be the Texas Parks and Wildlife Devils River State Natural Area Superintendent. I will provide closing remarks following Joe's presentation.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning. I always get real nervous when you do that. It's gonna work, it isn't gonna work.
Okay, so as Dale mentioned, I am a landowner, I'm a neighbor, work for Parks and Wildlife. I'm not here this morning to say the position of Parks and Wildlife. I'm not representing the agency this morning. There is no doubt, though, the same impacts that I will mention on this presentation affect him, affect me as a landowner, affect Parks and Wildlife too. So I'm doubly vested here in making sure that we do what's right for the county. And to that end, I formed this presentation, and it's based on facts and information from multiple sources, and we have handouts and a copy for you to have at the end of the presentation if you would like. Begin with, this is the scene. This is not Val Verde County, but it's a similar location, same kind of terrain with the wind farm in place. Let's begin with where Rock Springs Wind Farm is located. For those who don't know, it's out here on the east side of Val Verde County. We zoom in. Why it's called Rock Springs, not Del Rio, is a mystery, but it's right here by the borderline near Carter Valley. You can see the lake, Del Rio, down here. I'll zoom in a little closer so you see that this is the footprint. Technology. This is the footprint before the turbines were in place, because Google Earth hasn't been updated. So this was in January of last year, but you can see the pads in place there. This is a 377, 277 heading north towards Sonora. These are the pads in place before the turbines were installed. So here's a interactive map that shows the wind farm locations in Texas, and you'll note here that this is Rock Springs Wind Farm. You'll also note here that the huge area we call the Hill Country, and it's not just by chance they don't have these wind farms there. It's by purpose in the community organization that they did not want wind farms in certain areas. So you'll notice that industrial areas, Willfield, remote areas are getting targeted. Now, obviously, we find this area beautiful here, so it's just interesting this area here has no wind farm. Here's some specifications on the Rock Springs Wind Farm turbines. You look in comparison, look at the house down here below, a person, 500 feet, taller than the Statue of Liberty, taller than a football field on end, than a skyscraper. 69 turbines, 500 feet tall, noise range, 105 to 107 decibels. In terms of operation, this idea originated by developers from East Texas and Louisiana. I heard firsthand from the initial organizer of this. He's from East Texas. The formation, LLC formations and business processes went through Delaware, Chicago, Houston, Dallas. If you backtrack through everything, it's not easy to find, but you can see that these were formed in those 4 places. Owned and operated by Akuo Energies, a French energy producer. This is a French company that funded this at the end. Constructed by Morrison Company out of Minnesota. We have no information on how many local employees were hired for the construction or currently after construction. The majority of this land was current wind farm since it's owned by Brazos Highlands Properties, owned by a foreign entity with U.S. operations based in Houston. Brazos Highland Properties and Associates owned 100,000 acres in Val Verde County. Evidence and logic point to massive wind farm expansion. Yesterday, I drove a 277 near Loma Alta. I had information that the Bayou Ranch, which is also owned by Highland Brazos Properties, has in place these wind measuring towers. They are put in place before they do a wind farm. You'll know this is what one looks like on the internet. This is the one I took a picture of. It's set way back in there, maybe a mile or so. I had to use telephoto lens to get a copy of this. There's the pretty evidence of a wind farm going in across the road. Here's a map visual showing all the property owned by. Here's the current wind farm. There's some private ownership around the Brazos properties, but they also own, all the yellow is owned by that foreign company. And this green is also owned by the associates. They all have direct association with the Rock Springs Wind Farm. This equals 100,005 acres property. So here would be a zone of impact. And here you have the lake, here you have the Devils River watershed. Both sides of the watershed are owned in a sense, and that on Pecos as well by this company. This would be symbolic of the view of the development in that area. This would be the pad formation there. So there's far-reaching impacts from wind farms. That's a picture of the Rock Springs Wind Farm. U.S. Department of Interior and Department of Energy financed the study because a lot of issues were happening out west and around national parks and things of that nature. And they came up with these studies. Basically, 337 observations of live wind farms were made under various lighting and weather conditions, resulting in the following. Wind farms were found to be visible to the unaided eye for 36 miles. Turbine blade movement was often visible at 24 miles. Wind farms would be unlikely to be missed by casual observers at 20 miles. Red flashing hazard lights are officially recorded as visible at 36.2 miles. Their finding was that siting wind energy facilities further away from highly valued landscapes and vital resource areas to preserve existing visual integrity and scenic vistas may be the single most effective means for reducing or avoiding impacts. Here's a visual of that. So basically, here's the Rock Springs Wind Farm. You have 36 miles out. All this, depending on terrain, is how far you would see this wind farm. So if you have property, or this is how far. Now if they expand, it'll expand out, no telling. But you've seen the lights from, I can see them from the lake crossing here, and this shows Diablo East, all along 90, near Rock Springs. An untold number of landowners can see, every mesa top can see this wind farm for 36 miles. Wind farms decrease land value. The following is a small sample. Now, when I say small, there's multiple examples of information pulled from just a handful of studies and reports on wind farms related to devaluation of property. Decreases in value between 20 and 60% was a common trend in findings. Market data and common sense tell us property values are negatively impacted by the presence of wind turbines. They are real and perceived nuisances resulting from wind farms produce buyer resistance that results in devaluation. If a buyer will simply refuse to purchase a property within the vicinity of a wind turbine, then there is no buyer, there is no value. So basically focusing on proximity does definitely increase negative impacts on property values. Basically additional 15 to 25% loss in value of property due to the following: wind turbine infrastructure, transmission lines, substations, additional roads, additional traffic. The question you have to ask is, does increased income from wind turbines offset the potential decrease in market value? There's also additional, another study was based on 600 samples of properties that sold in a wind farm area over a 3-year period. The days on the market was more than double for those properties inside the windmill zones. The sold price was on average $48,000 lower inside the windmill zones. The number of homes not absorbed, not sold was 11% versus 3%. Decreased value being an amount to inverse condemnations or regulatory taking of private properties. This is from 7 pages of links to studies and reporting related to wind farm devaluing the land. Like I said, the decrease of 20 to 60% was a common trend. Noise. I mentioned the noise on these wind turbines. Basically, this is saying that a study done by a Maine-based acoustic consulting company found that they are intrusive and clearly audible for miles. They are uncharacteristic of a natural landscape. Let's see if we have volume. Well, is there any way we get volume on this?
All right, you guys are not here.
Okay.
If I get up, I'm just gonna mess it up.
Can I get that speaker?
That's good.
Yeah. So as for a minute, I'll leave these up here, but these are quotes. Some are from local landowners, some are from other properties that have wind farms on them.
She's prepared, she bought external speaker.
I wouldn't know how to hook it up.
Okay, let me go back real quick and see if I can get that one. It's not working either. Let me turn my computer up for you guys.
That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
the majority of us have traveled that road at some point or another, probably even in like the last week or so, no more. Yeah, so.
I have additional, fortunately, I have additional slides that have sound to them.
Uh-oh.
So kind of want to, if it works on that.
Let me see if he's in the other room.
I think that other plug in is for sound, but I'm not sure.
This one here, this HDMI, you believe?
I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure, but
I think so. This- I'm not an audio guy, so. It's not, no. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and continue. I don't want to waste your time on that. What we can do is, there's some pretty impactful statements on there, and we'll definitely get that going back for you in a minute. I don't know where the audio guy is, but I'm having trouble.
Well, the TV should have.
The TV's not showing my slideshow now, so.
I just tried to get a hold of my IT guy, he's not answering, or our IT guy, he's not answering the phone. He must be watching.
That plug should, it was,
They're calling him on his personal phone.
basically the plug a minute ago threw it up on the screen, but now it's not.
It works?
Let's see, hold on.
Okay, they've already got a hold of him, she said.
Okay.
I've got a, if that doesn't start real quick.
No, it's not starting yet, so.
Did we get a letter, did we go out and ask the FAA for a letter or something? The letter from the FAA, we've been visiting on this for a while, on the lights and stuff.
That's going to be a very involved process.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know that there was some legislation passed in the last session that dealt with military installations and the ability to put wind farms close to military installations. But it's within 25 miles of a military installation.
This one,
And,
Yeah, that
one of
would
these,
actually involve a specific study.
one of
for
these
this base.
proposed farms literally is right next door to me,
Yeah.
up in the northern end of the county. And I understand the concerns. My concern is where does the invasion of private property rights on the government, or where does government get into invading on private property rights?
Good point.
If we go in and start telling private property owners what they can and can't do with their property, where do we draw that line?
I understand your point.
Because we're having another conversation this afternoon that deals with water. And that's my major concern. Well, I don't want this thing next door to me. Trust me, I clearly understand where you're at.
Yeah.
And mine is gonna be literally next door. I mean, you're a few miles away. The one they're proposing is literally right next door.
Well,
to me.
obviously, it's a two-acre.
But my concern is government's invasion on private property. Where do we draw that line? Which group do we pick as to their rights versus the landowner that has the ability to make revenue off of that? Where does that go? You know, do we stop the fracking? Do we stop wind farms? Do we stop water? Where do we draw the line? And that's always been my concern, is we've had these conversations for years and years and years about wind farms and water rights and fracking issues and everything else. You know,
On the screen, there's no sound.
I own
No sound
property, I
either.
own a ranch in Valverde County. My family's owned it since the 40s. You know, I don't want it to be devalued, but I also don't want somebody to tell me I can't make a living off of it. Same thing with everybody sitting in this room. And that's my major concern here. I understand what you're saying, and trust me, I'm gonna have to deal with this because they're proposing hundreds of towers right next door to me. And that's been my struggle for years, is where do we draw that line? Because what group's gonna come in here next and want us to stop somebody else's ability from doing something?
Mr. Neff, could I just say something on that?
Mhm.
You were talking about government getting involved with people. You're our county government.
No, I understand.
And so we're all sitting here and we get all of our land devalued. Are y'all gonna go over to the appraisal district and lower all of our taxes?
I clearly understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. What I'm saying is what happens if the next group comes in here, or you want to do something on your property, and they decide that that's not the thing that needs to be done, and they don't want it.
Well, I'm just talking
You know, so
about-
I'm not saying that we don't do something to try to help. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is where does that line get drawn? Where does your private property rights
That's what sound here.
exceed government's ability to tell you what to do?
Right. I understand what you're saying with, you know,
And I don't want this next door to me any more than you want it next door to you. You know, and the ranch that's next door to me is 15,000 acres.
you're gonna be able to lower your property value.
I understand. I clearly understand what you're saying. And so would somebody coming in and drilling massive water wells and draining all the water. Where does that line draw to?
So we discussed that.
It's working, okay.
No.
I guess so.
So, I mean, you know, it's a conversation worth having. I'm not saying we don't do something. I'm saying, where do we draw the line?
But again, real quick, once, this wind farm came to the school district for an abatement. It was denied. It came here to the court. Not only was it denied, but there was a motion that we were against. We took the action that we could take at the time.
That's what I was gonna talk about in a second, about the land. I grew up in Ireland, I've been down here for 18 years. What's them, if y'all need to do your homework with those counties and find out what a sham this really is. You know, the school districts lose money.
No, and they, like I say, the school district, they presented it to them first for the simple reason they charged their rates the highest. So they denied an abatement, and even with that, there was going to be, they were still going to give them a check. It just wasn't going to be as much. With us, they came to us, and you know, I think we took it one step forward as a court, and the motion, I believe, was that we didn't want the wind farm in the county. The issue that we have right now is, you know, our hands are pretty much tied. Before, the way this thing used to work with these wind farms was that they needed our abatement in order to be able to function. The federal government has seen fit that now they can depreciate them so fast, they don't need us.
Well, that's what happened to us. I mean, there's thousands of those windows out there. They evaded the taxes on them, and when it comes time for them to start paying them, about half of the windows don't work.
Don't work. No, I understand. And we're not,
They're not gonna take them down.
And we didn't do that. We didn't go down that route. This court, actually made a motion, not, that we didn't want it. Not only that we weren't going to debate them, but that we didn't want it.
And we've taken it, this court and the judge has taken it one step further and went to Austin and testified to get legislation to try to get some control over these things. And there was some control given to the ability to regulate them within 25 miles of an Air Force base. Once they get beyond that,
And
we
this
haven't had much luck from the state or federal level getting local control over how we regulate and place these things. That's always been the issue, is the state and federal government refuse to allow local entities the authority to regulate, which is where it needs to be regulated to start with, because we're the ones that have to deal with it. They don't. They refuse to give us that authority, and the conversation that needs to be had is in Austin with our legislators about granting authority to local entities to have some control over where these things are placed and how they're dealt with. But it still goes back to the original issue of the private property rights. And so there has to be a common balance, in my opinion, as to how you balance that. But we have never had the ability to get anybody to grant that authority. And that's not the only thing. I mean, you know, we've gone through this on many issues, but this is a great conversation. But this conversation needs to be had in Austin, where they can grant this county some authority to say yes or no. You know, as of now, nobody really has any authority. They just kind of go do whatever they want to do, and it is what it is. And yeah, they'll come ask you, but at the end of the day, they'll tell you, we really don't have to have you, and we really don't care what you have to say. We're going to go do what we want to do. And you're right. They're foreign companies that come in here and to care less about what happens here locally. And so I get that, but you know, it also goes back to my other issue, which is my major concern, which is the private property rights issue, and how do you deal with that? You know, how do we deal with the fact that the individuals that sold this 100,000 acres would no longer have the ability to sell it, or if you wanted to sell yours now, you're not going to have the ability to sell it? Where does the balance come in?
Well, I understand, and I appreciate what y'all have done. I did not know that. We got into this yesterday. Y'all have done your homework already, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and the sad part about it, you know, is like Commissioner Nettleton says, at the end of the day, I mean, what it boils down to, our hands are really tied. I mean, we've had this conversation with Dale. I mean, basically all we're going to do after all this thing is said and done, and we do the presentation and everything, well, what is the court going to do? Well, all we can really do is go ask these guys if they'll put in a system that will do something to the rights. We can go ask.
If they're not getting a tax abatement, and I promise you this right now, they're not selling electricity. They're not making any money. I'll bet you with that. This is what happened in the part of West Texas I was from. They built all the windmills, did not put any substations in, could not even get their electricity in the grid. They went 3-4 years without selling any electricity. And then they don't work when they finally get it. They can't sell electricity. They're just sitting up there doing absolutely nothing.
No, and again, I mean, this court did everything we could at the time that it was presented to us. And what he just said right now, Commissioner Nettleton, you know, we had meetings with him separate. The bottom line is, they tell us at the end of the day, I don't need you. And I mean, I was told right outside that they didn't care whether we gave them an abatement or not. I don't need you.
We went and fought the one in Kenny County too, because it had a direct effect on Laughlin Air Force Base and the radar system, and had no luck getting it done.
What they're supposed to do with the amount of money those things cost.
200 million.
Excuse me, this gentleman wants to speak. He's trying to speak. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm Randy Jones, I'm a landowner in the county as well, and I just wanted to address briefly Commissioner Nettleton's comment that it is a property rights issue, and your property rights need to be respected.
No, I get it. I 100% agree with you.
And these Chinese companies with French operators come in here and they think we're a bunch of country bumpkins in the middle of nowhere, but it's a quality of life issue that we have to
I clearly understand. We have this same exact conversation when it comes to groundwater.
Yeah.
Where is that line? And where is that private property right? And who gets devalued if there's nothing left? And I clearly understand what you're saying, but where is that line?
As long as it benefits one group, they're okay with it. But the more and more government intrudes on your private property rights and your ability to do what you want to do with your land, we can, if the state allows, we can regulate anything and everything. The question is where do you draw the line? Where do you stop government from continuing to tell you what you can and cannot do with your own property and your own rights? Do we stop it at a water well that's 25,000 gallons a day? Do we stop it at 100,000? Do we stop it at 1 wind farm, 10 wind farms, 20 wind farms? Do we stop it at fracking? Where do you draw? Because this conversation is being having statewide. Fracking is another issue that lots of communities are having problems with. And the amount of water that's being used for fracking and the effects on that. Where does that line get drawn? And that's my biggest problem, is where do we draw that line? Which group do we protect and which group do we not protect? Because on the other side, there's still a group of people that want the ability to generate the money and don't want to ranch anymore and want to make some money off of selling their ranch and putting it in a wind farm, whatever the case may be. Where do we do that? And you're right. My land is probably going to be extremely devalued once this farm goes in. It's a 15,000 acre ranch. It's a very large ranch that literally sits right next door to me.
Battery as well.
Well, it's valuable to the Chinese.
No, I get that. I get that, but does that mean that just because you're from China or France or somewhere, we're not going to allow you to do business in the, That's my issue. This court has done it, and Commissioner Owens is right. We've done everything in our power to try to get some sort of control and regulation. And this is an issue that I have been dealing with for many years. We had an issue many years ago when I went to Austin and tried to get legislation to grant us authority to regulate cell phone towers that were being put in people's backyards and stuff like that were a problem. And when you get up there, they don't want to listen to you. They're only interested in the revenue for the state. They're not so much interested in what's going to happen to you and your value down here. And that's why the control needs to be locally and not in Austin or Washington.
So if y'all written a resolution against this development,
Yeah.
that's really all we can expect.
No, that's what I was saying. Our hands are tied, and at the end of all this, you do your presentations and everything, the only thing we could do is ask them, can you do something about the lights, please?
Communities like Fredericksburg,
Yeah.
beautiful tourism place,
Well-
they mobilized and they prevented a wind farm going in. Same thing in Mason, Texas. So, yeah, it wasn't government overlording over everything, but the community did come together to say, hey, it's a quality.
And we've had that talk, we've had that talk over the last 2 months, 3 months, and then when this thing went in, I think it came before us 2 years ago, and it had been trying to come before, they've been talking about it for 5, 6 years, 10 years, or the whole time that I've been on the court. They've come to us, and then they got on the agenda. They didn't show up. They had companies. I think they went to two or three different companies. There's just not going to be a whole lot, and it's not something that y'all want to hear, but there's not a whole lot that we're going to be able to do about it, because
We don't have regulatory.
they don't need us.
Meetings, but it
Judge
doesn't
Valdez,
accomplish
excuse me.
Mhm. Go ahead.
May I make a motion? I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Okay, well, I wanted to make a comment before anybody else speaks. As you heard, I did go to Austin, and when we went to Austin, all 3 entities, well, actually 4, even the hospital, did not give any abatement to this company. Okay? We thought we could stop it by that, we didn't. But here's where we were coming from. We were saying that the windmills affect the Air Force Base here. Okay? The reason it affects it is because it gives false radar readings on the planes. So we brought that into attention to the legislatures and says, we need protection because we want to grow our base. We want more missions to come to our base. That's where our goal was. That's our biggest employer in the city and the county. So our advice from advisors out there to legislators is don't go and try to stop a wind farm because you can't do that. Okay? Go with trying to regulate how much can go into your county. We actually used the Air Force Base to say, look, it's going to affect the Air Force Base here, and we went with that attitude. But I agree with the commission. We cannot stop it. We tried to, we did pass something and try to stop it. We can't. We have no authority to stop it. We try to regulate because of the air base. Now, the reason I brought it up because Fort Worth is having a ton of problems with windmills, and it's going to affect their military installation. That's what we didn't want. But that's the only reason we got some protection, not some protection, but I agree with Commissioner as far as property rights, where do we draw the line? That's a hard issue to discuss. But we did try to do that at the state level. You know, we did our part. Unfortunately, we couldn't stop it, and we can't stop it. Okay? All right, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment, and this is out of turn because we were going to discuss these very issues that we fully intend to. But bottom line, we're not expecting governmental action on this. Because we understand everything you're saying. What we're looking for is a grassroots protest from the citizens of this county. That's what we're looking for ultimately. That's what's going to stop further growth of this particular industry.
Okay.
That's a good point. We're not looking for, so I'll go continue. There's some stuff I can just verbalize what it is, but there's some key points in here I want to point out. These are the quotes from landowners across the board. We've already discussed it's disrespectful to your neighbors and property values and all that. Shadow flicker is another issue they have where these wind farms go in. If you have a house or property and the sun's behind it, you end up with this situation here where in the mornings and the evenings, if it's coming across the horizon sunset, if that's your property, maybe thousands of yards away, which I'll guarantee it happens right now across 277. People are having this happen across the street. Look at this guy here. So in his house all day long, well, not all day, an hour and a half probably, in the morning and evening, he faces this. Wind farms hurt wildlife. So this is a video here. You won't hear it.
They found 430 dead bats and I think 50 dead birds.
She's basically saying that 10,000 bats were
preliminary
killed a year by this wind farm. And they did the study there. So 10,000 bats. And we have a corridor of bats that come through Devil Sinkhole, Kiku Caverns. All the bats in the caves around here go to the Rio Grande. That's where they feed at night, that river bison, and go back. So we're putting wind farms in a corridor of bat species. So there's another issue beyond the Air Force Base. Here's a situation where literature as of 2013 showed that between 140 and 368,000 birds were killed from collisions with wind turbines. And that's in 2013, so there's a lot more turbines that have gone up since that. It says in addition, the taller the turbine, the more likely the collisions are to occur. Bat fatalities peak at wind turbines during the late summer and early fall migrations. Once again, we got Mexico, we got our corridor here is a major migration path for these bats. Noise bothers wildlife, so it's basically been proven that animal psychology and behaviors change by the wind farm and the noise and the visual impact. It's basically saying that wise planners will postpone development until more research appears because biologists agree there are too many unanswered questions, as Wyoming has discovered. If the deer leave and the hunters leave, they may not return. Basically, Valverde County is known as a major migration corridor for birds, bats, and butterflies. This is another effect right there that we should consider. Wind farms cause erosion. So not only the fact is that they're visually impactful, but they actually hurt the environment in another way. So this video shows a wind farm in California on a ridge line. So all ours will be ridge lines. You can see there that the terrain there all washed down. Those are pads from wind farms. And see how the topsoil and all that's down in that valley now. So that's affecting neighbors. That's our Devils River watershed, endangered species, the minnows, things of that nature. Now here's the impact of state and federal operations. So given the choice, would a slight training base seek expansion of hazards to aircraft in this training area? Well, of course not. You said they would not. They do not want that extra radar bling and that false reading. Added risk to Border Patrol, DEA, DPS, and Customs aircraft. Now if you live anywhere in that country out there, you see these aircraft fly by. They're doing low operations, looking for illegals, drug smugglers, you name it. Now they have to dodge multiple thousands of acres off limits to them for flight. Can you imagine the corridor then for illegal behavior? The towers both day and night serve as navigational aids for illegal immigration and smuggling activity. I've heard firsthand from Border Patrol on multiple occasions where now that Rock Springs is a key point because it puts you past the checkpoint. Now if you weren't sure about your traveling abilities back in the day, now you sure know. You do not miss it now. You know where to go. So that's another challenge for our Border Patrol agents. basically, wind farm development in Valverde County fails to take into consideration the value detracted from public when turbines obstruct and encroach upon scenic views from our state and federal parks. Devil's River State Natural Area, Seminole Canyon, Lake Amistad, that's another impact. The public loses that value from visiting those places. Increased heavy loads on roads. There you go. Maintenance from TxDOT, county level, because of the extra work you may have to do from the heavy equipment being brought in. Basically, this county was founded on its wildness and its vistas, and you have places like Rio Vista, Buena Vista, Lago Vista, Sunset Ridge. They're all named in homage to the views. You lose all that. I mean, what is it going to be? Turbine Tower Town? Something? You know, I don't know what you name it now, but it doesn't fit in this county. You lose the cultural, natural, and recreational tourism. Its reputation as an outdoor sportsman's paradise. The heritage and historical importance is lost. Wind farms aren't in line with, like I said, the county treasures, the Pecos River, the Rio Grande, the Devil's River, Lake Amistad, Seminole Canyon, Devil's River State Natural Area. This doesn't fit with that. This county's cultural history and rock art is so unique that the region is under review for nomination as a National Historic Landmark. I'm part of this committee. The viewscapes are considered. So if we want this region to be nominated as a National Historic Landmark, you have to take consideration what it will do if these rock art shelters lose value if the public has wind turbines on top of them or surrounding them. If it's not affecting you now, the wind expansion will reach your doorstep. And basically, wind farms will simply cost the county's intrinsic values. Even the wind farm industry knows this. They put this in their 10 steps to how to build a wind farm. It says the fact that a site is windy does not mean it's suitable for wind power development. Is there raptor activity in the area? Are there endangered or protected species that could be jeopardized in the presence of the facility? Will noise and aesthetics be issues for the local community? Will the turbine disrupt the flight path of local aircraft? It is the obligation of the developer to work to ensure that a project proceeds in a fashion that is acceptable to the regulators and the local community. This developer has not worked in that, has not felt that obligation. They have not talked to us. They have not talked to people about the local aesthetics, the noise will affect you. It popped up like that. So they didn't even follow their own industry guidelines. Here's the dark sky issue. So you basically, I mentioned earlier, 36.2 miles away, you can see these lights. They're everywhere. And it's hard to capture that. This is from not far from where I live. And that's the entire eastern horizon. You look out there, you see this. It's constantly all night. So basically, you're taking this daytime visual obstruction and putting it at nighttime. So around the clock, they get you day and night. Once again, these provide a navigational aid. Can you imagine crossing the border with a pack of illegal goods? You head right towards that. Get your car and you're out of there. So all that Rock Springs wind farm is already in place. There is FFA approved technology that the operator can install to turn off the lights. You know, it's not the fact that we're happy it's there, but look at this. This is over in Europe, and North Dakota the same way has these situations, these radars. There's no lights in these turbines. There's some in the back that haven't got them yet. This is an example, and you'll see there that you don't see these turbines at night because they have that lighting system in place. And I think some of you may be aware of this, but it's called ADLS. It's Aircraft Protection Lighting Systems. Basically, it makes a radar umbrella over the turbine. So basically, when a plane flies in from a certain level, 1,000 feet this direction, the lights come on. But there's no plane, there's no lights. It's FFA approved. North Dakota made it a state law that all wind farms, past, present, and future, will have this. Europe does it everywhere. It's FFA approved. It meets everything that you would want in that situation. So there's one mitigation solution to our current problems. This is a video, so I don't think you'll hear anything, but it just talks about the impact on the local community.
Why is it so secretive?
I think we were blinded by the money.
Yeah, so basically, these people regret that it came in. Some of them were kind of forced to. Their neighbors put them in, so they had to put them in. Otherwise, if you don't do it, you're not getting paid. You have to look at it. So when you put it in, you have to deal with it. And the regrets are amazing that they wish they hadn't done it. And that's actually a whole documentary about that.
I never thought, for example.
So call to action. All appropriate state and local agencies and government entities to be made aware of the public opposition to wind farm construction in Valverde County. This is our first step into making that public awareness. It's like I said, once again, we're not looking for some miracle answer today, but we have to make you aware, and then the word spreads. All wind farm financing institutions and development partners be made aware of opposition. I've read multiple cases where they don't want to be where they're not welcome. Some may put up more resistance, but They don't like resistance in the first place. And in the red there, residents and neighbors and the local Val Verde government work together to pass a resolution opposing wind farm development by Val Verde County. When we say that, you'll see that Fredericksburg did it, other places did a resolution. Of course, the ADLS system installed in Rock Springs to mitigate that light pollution. That's another priority. Strive for regulation prohibiting wind farm development within a certain distance of the border. Once again, all these border operations, we should not have these wind farms within a certain distance of the border. We should not, within state and federal parks, we also should not have them within a certain distance of state and federal parks, and of course military bases as well. And we can consider that neighbors who are forced to bear these devices might be compensated to adjust the impact on land values. If you're going to take my land value, then compensate me for it. That's one option there. The public in Val Verde County and beyond deserve to get notice and opportunity for input in advance of new wind farm development. Once again, it's their obligation, as per their own protocol, to let us know, not come in through Delaware and Chicago and Dallas and Houston. There's no chance to speak your mind. Val Verde County shall not be sold down the river. It's in my opinion, our opinion, I think it's anybody's opinion who respects this county. Here's some situations where we've had some excellent results. Grassroots opposition based on common sense leads to success. Wind blown away in Vermont. Vote against wind farms and counties in, that may have been North Dakota or South Dakota. Success. Stark County wind injury permit rejected. Notice of withdrawal. So this one mentions North Dakota, and it mentions the fact that, and I'll give you these handouts, that the commissioner's court rejected a permit and they withdrew. They did not want to resist this fight. They went somewhere else. Fredericksburg approves resolution against wind farm industry. And I'll give you this handout as well. The construction of wind farms, wind turbines, wind farms is not an industry that's welcome for workers to come to the Ellipse County area. That saved Enchanted Rock, Fredericksburg, that whole area. They do not have wind farms there. This is the image of Val Verde County. This is on the Chamber of Commerce site currently. You see the lake view, the horizon. That's what Val Verde County is. This is, you Google Val Verde County, type it in there, the images pop up. Horizons, vistas, ranches, rivers. You don't see wind turbines. You don't see industrial situations outside the city limits. That would be so negatively impactful. Now this is what it will look like, honestly, with this amount of land and the expansion. Once it gets going, it'll roll. And this will be the Val Verde County. In fact, it'll be our most treasured areas in Val Verde County. Will be that. And finally, I mean, this is some video I took the other day of just showing how clean and pure Val Verde County is out there. And this is actually from a property that's for sale. And I imagine, and it's hard to sell a big property anyway. Can you imagine if you have wind farms on those horizons? And that right there, they're in the horizon, but luckily it's lighted up. You can't see them because I glared the video. But this is a good situation. So I appreciate your time. Unfortunately, I wish that all the audio worked, but the fact is we just want our message to get across. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had any voice at all. It starts now. We'll take it as far as we need to go. I mean, because you have to fight what we're fighting for. You don't win every battle. But the fact is, we have enough pride in the county, as you do as well, because I know that you guys are landowners. It's just the fact that it's something that I can't go to bed at night not realizing I try to do my best to
one of the questions right now, and I just asked Commissioner Nettleton and asked legal, if maybe, and the judges, we talked about it the other day, maybe we knew this presentation was coming, but maybe judge will put it back on the agenda, and maybe we can do a resolution sort of asking them, get it worded right to where sort of asking the developers for this one here, maybe they can go to this system, and look at it. I know that y'all had a more or less cost on it, but maybe we can ask them to do a resolution or something to ask them to do this. And then for every other thing that they actually come to us, again, ask them if they'll, and like I say, it's a grassroots deal. You get us, you get the school, you get other people involved, all saying the same thing. Maybe they'll listen to us.
Yeah, I mean, you have foreign companies. I'm not sure. We know the local investors who own the properties. Well, I know that the driving force behind it will have a heavy push, but some of these foreign companies may not want to get involved. You may not have a French company that wants to get in a battle in Texas. You may not have a Chinese firm that wants to deal with bad publicity. They have other things they need to focus on. This is like a side venture for them. And I know it's not their main industry. So enough opposition, you don't know what the results until you try.
Judge, can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
The county has no power on this, you see. The landowners have no power. The stroke has to come from the environmentalist. Example is, we've got one right back here, Miss Karen Gleason, newspaper lady. She has more power speaking her mind on along the creek and environmentalist control Texas. That's where we got to fight this for. We've got to motivate the environmentalists. Let them know what's happening. Because you're talking about all of Texas. You're talking about Austin, huge environmentalists. All of these people. That's where you come from. The citizens, environmental citizens.
Yeah, well, it's so impactful across all lines. You have the environmental aspect, you have the operational, our base and our border patrol, you have landowner rights. I mean, it's
Landowners,
yeah.
we got no rights. We got,
Yeah.
I'm a landowner. I know. I'm a commissioner. I have no power.
Yeah.
And I think, speaking for the court, I think we tried to actually lobby the other entities, because we thought that they couldn't do it without the abatement, but they can't. At this point, they don't need our help, like the Commissioner said. They don't need our help. They'll
So before everybody leaves, y'all talk to Ms. Gleason. She can fix it.
Thank you, Mr.
Well, I'm going to put it back to Dale for the close.
Can we wrap it up quickly, because we've got an attorney that's going to call too.
Thank you, Joe, for an excellent presentation. I want to say this, but I understand exactly what you gentlemen have been saying, and I respectfully disagree with one comment you made, Commissioner Ward. The people do have power. Believe me, they do. We've seen other wind farm projects shut down across the country because of the people, not the government. And this is not saying anything negative about the government. It's just that I realize that the government, state and local, don't have the authority to do anything about it. It's the pressure put on these entities by the people, by the stakeholders, in this case, Val Verde County. That's what we're going for. And I also point out that we've got CDs of this presentation for handout to you all, in case you want to further study, review, whatever. Let me say this, and since you all have done so much work already in the past on this particular wind farm and so forth, I'd like to direct the majority of my comments to the audience. Thank you all very much for showing up. The Rock Springs wind farm was clearly sneaked in under the radar without local due process. And although both public consultation and outreach activities were allegedly conducted by the owner, any such activities were of such obscure nature that county stakeholders had no chance to comment one way or the other. Why a wind farm at the intersection of 277 North and 377 West and like places? Wind farm developers have learned one thing from hard experience. The best place to put wind farms is out in the counties where the pig farmers live, so to speak. Okay? Well away from the cities and the rich and famous. The very sites where the energy is needed the most. Rock Springs Wind Farm is just the first of a number of wind farms slated for Val Verde County. We all know that. Brazos Highland Properties, as Joe just pointed out, at latest count, has amassed some 100,000 acres. That arithmetically equates to an additional 400 wind turbines. And they're energetic, on the scene. Lackey continues to acquire additional acreage. Val Verde County stakeholders, beware. If we don't pay attention to what's going on and stop what's going on, we are going to wake up one morning and find that Val Verde County has become a pincushion, with the pins being the turbine towers. This is not a maybe scenario. This is an imminent happening. Make no mistake, these wind farm developers are not the altruistic, benevolent folks they may wish it to have us believe they are, i.e. providing benefits to the Val Verde County folks. In their certification and financing proposal, they pointed out 3 major areas that they were benefiting the county. First one was energy produced. Fact is, who actually gets it? I can tell you with certainty who doesn't. We don't. Employment opportunities. This wind farm and all wind farms to come are designed for minimal human intervention. What's that do for the employment opportunities? Tax benefits, let's talk about that for just a moment. This project was subsidized by federal government via production tax credits and accelerated appreciation schedules. That in turn equates to the majority of the wind farm construction cost being borne by the taxpayer. That's where the tax benefits are. Remind anybody of pro football stadiums. The owners get rich, we pay the taxes. At any rate, short-term monetary tax gains to the county are far outweighed by the long-term devastating effects to the county stakeholders. Bottom line, the outsiders get their blood money, we get their forever mess. Our hope is that as awareness of this imminent and growing cancer intensifies, 2 points. We are successful in getting the Mark Springs wind farm to turn the navigation obstruction lights off via the approved FAA ADLS system. Secondly, halt further wind farm development in Val Verde County. We ask you, the Val Verde County fathers, to actively join us, the Val Verde County stakeholders, in stopping this blight, this cancer, from spreading across our community by passing a clear resolution in opposition of further wind development within the county. Thank you for your time and attention this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understand the landowner where these wind farms are has not yet received the nickel. Has not received the nickel from the wind farm. And they're pumping every time I go by there. They're just squeezing.
I can't comment on that. I don't have access to
Okay, we will take a 10-minute break and then we'll go into executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code. 55.071 parenthesis 1 parenthesis B, 551.071 parenthesis 2, and 551.074 parenthesis A parenthesis 1. 38, we're back in session.
It's cold in there.
Yeah.
It is. Judge,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the job description for the county engineer / risk manager and to set the salary at $75,000.
Okay, there's a motion, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Second, any more discussion or question?
Yes, Judge, I'd like to add something on number 9, at the very last portion of that sentence, and inspection personnel and put et cetera, in case we miss something out.
Okay, all right. Motion accepts. All right, all right.
Did you get that?
Yes, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, there's a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody, 5-0.
My God.
We also need a motion for,
What we can do when we get to the,
yeah. Okay, let's go back now to, need a motion for number 7, possible approval payment annual.
move.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nobody, 5-0. Next, item 8, discuss possible action on resolution authorizing the submission of solid waste grant application to dispose of old tires throughout the county, Calvert
Motion
County.
to approve. Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody. Thank you. Next, item 9, discuss possible action to consider correspondence from TDA regarding 2017-2018 Colonia Fund construction scores.
Yeah, just real quick, thank you. I just wanted to, just for informational purposes, that TDA came out with the scores here recently. These are the applications, as you may recall. Valverde County submitted 2 applications a while back to TDA, each in the amount of $500,000. One application identified priorities out there in Rancho Del Rio, Escondido, and San Felipe. There were a total of 37 applications submitted. That application ranked and scored number 6. The other application was Vega Verde and Comstock. That application scored number 24. Reason that application scored less was that part of that activity was an enhancement project, and we knew that going in, that those enhancement projects score less than a first-time activity. This is no guarantee of any award or anything like this today. This is just a ranking and scoring of the applications. At a later date, TDA will come back with a, if we're successful, with a formal award letter to the county on these applications. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
We need to take action on that, right?
No. Wait. Tim, can we do that?
Well, we can discuss it.
All right, number 10, discuss possible action on employees' pay increase.
I'll make a motion we table that, Judge.
All right, I would, before we do that, I would like to approve the one for Anna's request, and then we can table the other ones until we get a budget from the DA.
Okay,
If you'll withdraw your motion.
I withdraw.
okay.
I will make a motion to approve the salary request by Anna for the first assistant, county attorney at $80,000, the second assistant at $65,000.
There's a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Second, any more discussion? Not all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
65.
Aye, all those opposed?
Aye.
I'm sorry, 65.5.
Okay.
My mistake.
All right.
I oppose.
You're 4, 1,
Yep. Who was seconded?
I did.
1 opposition. All right. And we'll table the rest of them, okay? All right, next, discuss possible action on a resolution 2018 Indigent Defense Grant Program.
Motion to approve, authorize to apply.
There's a motion,
Second.
second. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. All right, item 12, discuss possible action on P4 initiative agreement to construct a relief route for Laughlin Air Force Base in a partnership with TxDOT dealing with fuel issue routes and to discuss county fueling funding for relief routes. On this one here, what it is, back in 2014, we went into a P4 agreement, and what it is all the 4 entities in the county and the city go together and help each other out and doing what's called a private partnership to cut down the cost on a certain entity. For example, Sheriff allowed the base to use his firing range, so they could do some firing range out there because their firing range is not big enough, and so we did that. We also did a lot of things. The K-9s are loaned to the city and to the school district. Whenever there's a bomb threat, the K-9s on the base come over and they don't charge us. So what it is helping each other out. And I think what happened here, when we did the Westgate, the fuel trucks will go through the center of the base. There's a relief. Well, why don't you let...
No, there's a little caliche road that goes around from the back gate that comes around to the fuel tanks. What they would like us to do is go in there and build that road up and pave it so that they can reroute those fuel trucks around so they're not going right through the center of all the housing. TxDOT has agreed to give all of the base material, or pretty much all of it. We may have to get a little bit of it. They do not have the paving material, so we would need, I don't think we'll use it all, but I would like to set aside $100,000 to be used for that project so that we can get the paving materials and oil and stuff like that. Whatever's not used, we can put back.
Where does that road go, Bo?
It comes, as you come in the west gate, you go down there, right past the west gate, it turns to the left and goes around behind all the housing and comes out right in the front where the fuel storage tanks are by the front gate. So all of the fuel trucks would be routed around that so that they wouldn't have to go right through the center of all the population.
And get the money.
And if we can get the money from contingency pending our final agreement with the DA, then we can reimburse contingency.
One of the questions, just to clarify that, one of the questions that we asked was, why can't they just open the north gate and let the fuel trucks come in? Well, that's an easy solution, but the problem was that we moved all the equipment to the west gate to x-ray all the commercial vehicles, and so now we don't have anything in the north gate before, so we can actually see what's going on. Okay?
Yeah, and then there was one other issue. We're going to be constructing this ourselves with county crews. If any of the commissioners wish to participate, we will have to get those employees' names so that they can get cleared. And y'all can get with me so that we can get their names and stuff so we can clear them to get on the base. But that's it.
Is that your motion?
Yes, my motion was, and he seconded it.
Okay, second. Any more discussion, question? And we might not even use 100,000, but anyway. Okay, there's a motion and second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody? Thank you. All right, next, discuss possible action on the lease agreement between Valverde County and Bobby Paul for the use of Valverde County Fairgrounds for the George Paul Memorial.
Motion to approve.
Second.
To authorize judges.
What are the terms of that?
It's in your.
It's in your packet.
They pay $1,000.
$1,000 a day, and then, there's also an agreement for, the use of the offices.
Okay. All right, there's a motion and second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody? 5-0. Next, discuss possible action on the use of hot tax fund for the George Paul Memorial bull riding.
Do we have, I don't know if we have money.
You had some funds from, that have been carried over.
Yeah.
We have the 48?
Last time I looked, I think it was like $80-some-odd $100
Yeah,
in there.
I think we have about 8,000.
Motion to approve and take out the hot tax.
Okay. There's a motion and a second.
Second.
Before we go on, I also asked Matt to give us an update on how the tax funds are being used, because I don't think we have a record of which entity is using and how much, and they're supposed to, but they're also supposed to turn in a budget or something what they're doing. So I just wanted to make sure to give us something on it. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Okay, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Nobody? 5-0. Next, item 15, discuss possible action on the use of a co-op field for, it's actually supposed to be a baseball professional clinic, celebrity tournament, with a celebrity tournament at night on February the 3rd.
Motion to approve.
So motion?
Judge sign.
We usually set the rate like at $1.
At $1.
Okay.
I think it's,
Yeah.
was it in there?
Okay, with a rate of $1. Okay, there's a
Yeah, it's in
motion.
there. It's in there.
I need a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Flores?
Lotus.
Okay, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Nobody? 5-0. Next, discuss possible action on the lease agreement between Valverde County and the Border Youth Soccer League for the use of soccer fields at Coal Field, February 26th, June 16th.
Set the ready to go.
Okay, there's a motion and
Second.
second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Item 17, discuss possible action on performance statement modification number 2 for Texas CDBG grant number 7216-075 and authorize county judge to sign it. Water line along Vega Verde Road to be increased 900 additional linear feet, benefits 6 additional households.
Judge, we had some leftover money, so we're gonna go up another 900 additional linear feet on this water extension, and I'd like to make a motion to approve and have the judge sign.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Not all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Next, item 18, discuss possible action regarding change order number 1 between Ferguson Works and Valverde County for water line materials for Vega Verde Road, increasing contract by $22,638.04, and authorize county judge to sign it. The cost for the additional material will be paid from the CDBG grant number 7216-075.
Motion to approve and have the judge sign.
Or do you want me to bring your other table?
Motion and second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody. Next, item 19, discuss possible action on small purchase procurement, record form A504 for a rental cost excavator for 4 months for the Vega Verde water line project, and authorize the county judge to sign the cost for the excavator rental to be reimbursed from CDBG grant, contract number 7216-075.
Motion to approve and have the judge sign.
I'll second that.
Martins, second. Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Next, item 20, discuss possible action regarding the Valverde County Sheriff entering a 3-year agreement with Lead Online LLC for the use of electronic reporting and criminal investigation system to include authorization signature.
That was on the budget, and we're talking about $3,133.
Motion to approve, authorize the judge to sign.
There's some problems with the venue provisions on the contract, very minor problems, so I'll let you know what they are.
I'll amend my motion to approve pending changes from the county attorney's office.
Second.
And Mr. Muski's brought the contract to me in a very timely manner.
Okay.
Give me plenty of time to review.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Next, item 21, discuss possible action regarding the county court at law office copier service contract.
Currently, the contract that we have is to expire in a few weeks. We're currently paying $198.70. That was on a 5-year contract. This is a 3-year contract, and it's a little bit less.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Item 22, discuss possible action regarding the payment of executed purchases not complying with current purchasing policy.
I'll make a motion to approve. I understand there was one in here I guess it's not here, but it was supposed to be mine, and we're short $1.25 for a license plate.
This is the revised one, so I believe that was taken care of. I did bring that to the attention of the auditor, and I think...
We made the PO what they said, we would to get the plates, and they said, no, it's $1.25 more.
So what happened, Lord? You didn't want to make it public?
No, we needed more people in the audience, so we're going to hold it for the next meeting.
You want to make a motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. Any more questions, discussion?
Who seconded it?
I don't mind admitting when we did it.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
On item 23, discuss possible action regarding the ratification of modification 10 of intergovernmental agreement between U.S. Marshals and the Valverde County Detention Facility.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. Any question, discussion? Not all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Item 24, discuss possible action authorizing Sheriff Joe Martinez to hire part-time telecommunications officers. Go ahead, Sheriff.
Yes,
Commissioners, Judge, since January 2016, I've been up here numerous times to ask for extensions for time for the operators, but that's not working out. We've gone through 10 positions that people have come and gone in the last 2 years. So right now we have three positions that are in training that hopefully in the next couple of months we can get them on their own. So I'm asking to be able to use one of the current salaries for a full-time position, because there may be an opportunity to hire someone on part-time to give these people a little bit of relief.
Sheriff, so you have the money to cover that part-time position?
It's the 24, yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Next, discuss possible action on a cooperative agreement.
Good luck.
H71001110,001 between the National Park Service and Valverde County Sheriff.
This is an ongoing grant that pays for a communication position from the National Park Service.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? Not all those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. Thank you. Next, item 26, presentation of 2017 race profiling report. Go ahead.
Yes, that was attached to your reports for review. We're just waiting for it to be presented to the board before it can be submitted.
Do we need to approve it or just submit it? Okay.
Do you have a copy for Jane? Do you have one?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Motion. Well, it does say this presentation is just discussing.
Yeah, so just accept.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
I second that motion
Second.
to accept.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, all those in favor,
doing
indicate by
anything.
saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody. Thank you. All right, item 27, presentation of 2017 racial profiling report. I think the same one.
Yeah, Mr. Berg had to be the lead, so I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody. 5-0. Next, item 28, discuss possible action on the purchase of the Garrett Super Scanner 5 portable metal detector and to be used by constables and bailiffs for the Justice of the Peace floor, and courtroom cost is $191.96. Payment to be made by the Justice Court Security Fund. So moved. Second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody. Thank you. All right. Item 29, the monthly treasury report.
Nothing's changed from the
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. The monthly county auditor's report. I think all of us got it. Motion to
You want to
approve.
change that?
Oh, which one are we on? The auditor's?
No, the auditor's report.
The auditor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, there's a motion
I already
and a second.
checked it
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody. Thank you. 5-0. All right. Item 31, Human Resource Monthly Report, December 27 to January 18, 2018.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, but the change, instead of saying Matt Weingard, County Auditor, to now say, to authorize the county treasurer. And can we make that change in the future on all of them, please?
Okay, there's a motion. Need a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Owens. Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody. 5-0. Right. A motion on the auditor? I mean, the DA. We're in the, after the,
Oh, we're doing it.
we're in the,
Executive session?
We need a motion for the DA.
You already had a, I mean, the last time we given him authority to go.
Who we giving authority to?
Me?
The judge.
But he already got it.
Yeah. I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
we'd already given that to him before, so we didn't give it to him again, did we?
But did you want to talk to Mr. Bagley real quick?
You don't talk to him.
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
Take a little break or just,
We'll take a break, visit for a second.
Mr. Bagley, can I speak with you for
because I
5
would
minutes?
like to visit with Commissioner Owens.
Okay. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Mr. Bagley? Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to go outside, you get in trouble.
I'm gonna sit right here.
You get in the dog.
You should have sat in the other.
Yeah, no, I don't want that chair. No. I don't want it and all the problems that go with it.
What we're gonna do is, we're gonna table the salaries and all that until we present the agreement in written form to the DA, if he agrees or not, and we'll bring it back.
All right.
Okay? All right? All right, now let's go to item 38, approved subdivision plats.
36?
Oh,
Next, approved certification compliance. None? Approved monthly report.
Move.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, anything by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody? Right. Next, approved bills for payment.
Move.
Real quick.
Oh, sorry.
There was a bill that we were working on, we've been working on it with Matt and with Mr. Muski for JP Sanchez. There was an invoice written in 2016, there was a bill presented, never was paid. So we've gone through the PO process to pay that bill. I'd like to add it, it's for $2,250 for AC units that we've already received. What was that for?
Motion accepted.
It was AC units, some wall packs. We put 2 of them here, and there's 3 of them still at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
The money, that PO was written out of parks, and this time what I did is I wrote the PO out of my precinct to pay for it.
So the ones at the fairgrounds, where do they go?
Well, initially, if we did the restrooms, they were gonna be for the restrooms. But we would have to go buy AC units.
Okay, there's a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. No comment from me, nothing else, this meeting's adjourned.